Welcome to Chronic Curiosity number 28 with Gary Chaney. Real quick, if you are watching, you can tell that we have gotten some new equipment like I've talked about in the previous episodes. We've had some hiccups. This one, I believe, went without a hiccup, so I got it working. Like I said, we do still have some more stuff coming out. There is the website that's up, chronic-curiosity.com. There's going to be some changes coming to that as well, hopefully very soon. And there's actually we put a forum on there. So if you feel so inclined, you can join up there and throw some ideas or talk and whatever it might be. So if you want, check that out. And as always, the likes and subscribes and all that stuff is appreciated if you are enjoying the show.
Curiosity, right?
Yeah, here you go. This one stretches out all the way, so you can sit in the middle there.
Okay.
There you go. All right. We doing it? We good? And everything's solid? Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like everything's running good. Welcome back, Gary.
I wish I could partake.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I sent Tony a message this morning. I was like, I can't remember what Gary likes to drink. I said, I don't know if there's something specific he likes. I said, we have a couple beers, whatever. I was like, I know he's like getting ready, kind of prepping to get ready to prep. Like, so I don't know if he drink or anything. And he messaged me back a little bit later. He was like, yeah. He's like,
I got
a
that
giant
huge meal. Yeah, it's just alcohol won't help. That meal's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. How many? Make sure you keep this thing.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
You're good. He said he's like, he has this giant meal to eat. Yeah. He feels like if he eats it and drinks, he'll probably end up puking.
Yeah, you'd be like, okay, well, we're not having him back anymore.
So, are you getting? I know you talked about doing the fall, right? Is that still the goal?
So, typically, in a perfect world, you go into an off season, and I'm in week 2 of my off season, which is just eating.
The fun's just starting.
And eating, yeah, eating, and like just in 2 weeks, my weight's already jumped quite a bit, which I'm fine with. That's the goal. I wish it was higher, but
it looks a lot higher. I'll tell you what, it looks a lot more than 10 pounds. When you walked in, I was like, Jesus, like.
But man, it's eating all this food is just tough. It's mentally tough. It's physically tough.
And most people like when they hear they're like, "Oh yeah, eating so hard." But no. I mean, how many calories are you eating a day now to do that?
I didn't calculate. I calculated the carbs.
Okay.
It was over 700 grams of carbs. It's terrible.
I feel like that's got to be like 5,000 calories just
easy, yeah, easy. So it's just it's time consuming. It's just rough. It's rough, but gotta go. Gotta do it.
When's the last time you I didn't really intend for this thing to be all about bodybuilding again, but when's the last? Because this is the first time you've been here all by yourself.
Right.
When's the last time that you prepped and did
2019.
Oh, okay. So you just
not too far removed.
So
yeah. So I mean, between the pandemic and I'm not one of those guys that needs to compete every year. I'd rather come back with a completely different physique than continue to compete and continually get a little bit better. I want, next time I get on stage, you're like, holy crap, that guy ate the other guy. So that's my goal.
Well, I think you're getting there.
We'll see when it's all said and done.
What are you doing? Are you shooting for a particular weight class or anything like that, or how?
No, so physique is all height. Well, it's everybody versus everybody. So,
but you said it was height, like height ranges. Is
well,
that
initially it starts at in the regional level and the national level, it's all height based. So at a local show, it could be, it might be A class 5'6" and below, B class 5'6" and a quarter to 5'8", C class 5'8" and a quarter to 5'10", and so on.
Gotcha.
So previous to this, I've always competed with people my height. And then if you win those classes, you go to the overall and you face all the winners of those classes, which we talked about before.
So you're going for the what you want to do.
But now I'm at the pro level.
Oh, so it's
the 5-foot guy versus the 6'8" guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's all about who has the best
now.
Physique for that frame.
I didn't realize that.
So for my frame, the elite guys are getting on stage 180s, 190s. which is why I know I need to be up 215 before I even think
Right,
about.
even think about
yeah,
cutting
210, 215.
So is that where you're going to come in, trying to dial it back in 180 when you step on stage?
Yeah, in a perfect world, assuming
that
I
doesn't
put
sound
on,
fun.
well, assuming I put on enough muscle,
Sure.
then in a perfect world, that's where I'd be.
So 215 is what you need to hit to
215 is what I want in my head. I think that's the magic number.
dial it down to 180 to feel like you're going to have that size.
Right.
Okay.
So last time I competed, I got up to 198 and I came in at 167. So almost a little over 30 pounds there. So somewhere in that range, we'll see.
Now, before you start cutting and before you start, that leaning out process, like, I think there's a couple different things, I guess. A lot of people don't realize like how lean you are when you step on stage. And a lot of people see like bodybuilders and stuff and they look at them and they're like, oh, like, or they see them like we talked about before on Instagram or whatever. And it's like, those people aren't walking around every day like that. Like, cause we talked about it in the first one, how much you put your body through to kind of get to that spot. So what percentage wise, just cause my mind works in numbers, but the idea of like, how much are you bulked up and then to get down, like, cause obviously you want to strip as much fat and everything away and keep as much muscle, but like how, like in simple terms, like how fat do you get? Or is it you try to stay fairly lean, just having enough extra to kind of build that muscle? You know what I mean? Like, because people hear you drop 30 pounds, it's like,
well, where did you drop it from? That's what I get. Like, you got 30 pounds to lose on you? I do believe it.
And I feel like a lot of it's water. Yeah. Well, in a sense, like the daily, like just kind of.
Well, it's not
a normal person. You're just holding a bunch of stuff that you don't really use.
Realistically, water-wise, like we have a coworker, Glenn. Like his weight can fluctuate like 8 pounds like, in a day.
Well, he's a giant man.
Yeah, I forgot he was one. But so his weight can fluctuate. But so you get people that hold tons of water like that. But for me, even in my final week cutting water, I might lose anywhere from 4 to 6 pounds, give or take.
Right.
So the average person doesn't necessarily hold, some people hold more water than others. That goes without saying. But the majority of that 30 pounds is 30 pounds of fat. Like I carry it. Like I have an athletic frame, but I'm not shredded under this shirt. Right. I got abs hanging on for dear life.
Right.
But I'm not shredded by any means. My waist when I diet is here. Right now my waist is I'm pretty square, box looking, at least for my standards. So
well, I think a lot of people too don't realize how much fat even a person that's like athletic or like we'll say a general like well-shaped person. I don't want to shame. Sorry, shaming the dog upstairs.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But like a normal person, like that's skinny, fat, whatever you want to call it. It's just they're not super athletic. They're not morbidly obese. Just a normal person has. If you had to guess, what you think the percentage is? Like probably like what 23% body fat or something like that. Like a normal male, and I think females are a little higher typically.
Yeah, I'd probably say a normal male. Depends if they work out, if they're active. Let's say an active, normal male who's not worried about diet or cardio. It's probably somewhere between. And again, this can vary on age too, because when I was younger and I didn't worry, I won't say my metabolism slowed down. It certainly has, I would imagine. But, when I was younger, I could walk around at anywhere from 9 to 12% body fat, and I wouldn't even think about it. I didn't do cardio. I didn't do, I just lifted, went to the gym, and whatever. I played intramural sports, and I'd be about my extent of cardio. Now, just like the InBody, if you want to go off an InBody test, whatever you think the accuracy is on those, I was back in, like, I want to say November-ish, I was like 16.1% body fat, which I believe. I hold it through my stomach and my butt and my quads, even though they're not big. There's some fat there. And then I just got one right before I started this plan. I was like 16.7, but my muscle mass had gone up significantly. So I felt pretty good about that, because that's what I envisioned. I thought I was going to be a little bit more fat than that. But all in all, I mean, like I said, it just depends on your lifestyle, but I'd say the average probably, this is a big range, but probably 15 to 23, 24. And you can still look the part. You know, you might take off your shirt and look a little softer than people would expect, but
Right.
you can still look like you're working out and so on.
Well, I think that's. I guess my whole point of that is a lot of times people don't really think about all of the things that you eat and what your body's made of and how much like people say 25% body fat, like, well, it's really not that high because you got all your
What's
yeah,
your
in
muscle
between your
mass?
muscles,
Yeah.
like in between, like you got a lot of joints, you got a lot of spaces where you can hide stuff,
Yeah, and
and
it's-
your fat is that's an important piece of.
And it's
your
funny
body.
because when I go, like, I'll talk to patients and I'll say, okay, your fat mass is, you have 40 pounds of fat on you. You have 50 pounds. Oh my God, that's so much. Well, dude, you weigh 240 pounds.
Yeah, what else
What
do
do
you think
you
is there?
mean? That's a lot. That's a lot of muscle too.
Right.
There's a silver lining there. But going back to the question you asked, 'cause I never answered it. How far out of shape do you typically get? Different people say different things. I think it comes down to knowing your metabolism, knowing your work ethic, and knowing your time frames. So for me, like I lost that 30 pounds in 13 weeks, 13, 14 weeks. My metabolism's still rolling, good to go. For somebody else, especially, and it comes down to who you're working with. If you don't know, so if I went to diet you down and I don't know your body,
Right.
I always prep my clients for longer than what I think it'll take.
Just in
And if they're
case.
ready early, cool, let's knock out a show beforehand. But if not, or if they're ready early, I can test run some different ideas. But if they're not, maybe I needed that whole 20 weeks. Maybe I needed that whole 25 weeks. So, sometimes people say you want to stay within 15 to 20 pounds of your stage weight. It just depends on the individual. It depends on how much muscle you need to add, those types of things. So, if my stage weight is 180 this year, 185, and I get up to 215, I know I can get that off me. So it's not going to be easy, but I can get it off me. So it's an individualized thing.
It's all the planning process. And
Right.
whatnot.
But I will say, like, I got a client just driving down here. I looked at his Instagram and he just posted he was 227. He got on stage at 176 was the top of his weight class. And we have this conversation every year. Dude, you cannot get that and he's only 5'6". Like, you
wow.
cannot get that big. Like, you keep getting, and he wears it well. His legs are monstrous. Like, he wears it well, but you can't get that big because you're making a much harder prep than it has to be. I mean, when we got down to, he was 198, and we realized we needed to go down to the next weight class. He had 17 days, I think it was, to make it down to 176. And he's one of the top 2 hardest workers I have, and 3 hours of cardio a day.
So you put him on the bike with the suit.
Listen, he will do anything. If you lock him in the sauna and say we need to get this water off, you stay in the sauna for an hour. Okay, I'll do it. Like, he bought a at home
Yeah.
sauna and everything, and we got the weight off of him, and he made weight and everything, and that's just how his mind operates. But he sets himself up for a harder prep because he has that mindset. I got to get bigger to put on muscle.
Right.
You don't have to get that big, dude. If your weight class is 176, why not just stay around 200, 205? That's 30 pounds above.
I never thought about that, like, because we've talked about before. Like, I used to enjoy lifting and whatever a lot more, and I just want to get big,
Right.
Because I was a kid in high school. I was like, I played football. I wanted to gain some size because I went to a small school and I was a lineman, and you wouldn't obviously believe it. I was like some 5'11", 180-pound kid, but I always wanted to get bigger and get bigger because I did everything I could, and I still graduated. I think maybe at I was like 185, and that was, just shoving my face all the time. But then, so I just wanted to keep on getting bigger, but I never thought about some of these, if you're competing, you only need to beat the next best person.
Yeah.
So why make it harder?
Yeah,
I
why?
never
Why?
thought
Yeah,
about it.
and the same goes for like even like powerlifting. You know, you might have the concept I'll get bigger, bigger, stronger, stronger.
Until you
You
bump
gotta
your
you gotta diet back down to that weight class where you're actually competitive. You can be strong, cool, but you compete in the closest weight class to you. If you're 225 pounds, you belong in the 170 class, and you just say, "Well, I can't make that weight. I'm going to compete against the 220s." Well, cool, you're strong for 170. 220, you're about to get smoked.
Right.
You know, I don't even know if that's a weight class in power, but
I
you get what I'm.
yeah.
You get what I'm
That's
saying,
like
yeah.
I've met people before when I was lifting. They'd be like, "Oh, I benched 450 pounds." Well, you also weigh 450
Right,
pounds.
cool.
Like not that impressive.
Yeah.
Like you benched your body weight.
Yeah.
Like good for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You can get it once.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, like you said, like dude's 180 and benching 450 pounds.
Yeah, that's moving some
Okay.
weight.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Right.
Yeah. Is something messed up?
No, the average American
Oh.
man
Science fact.
has
Yeah.
28% body fat, and the average American woman is at 40%.
That's how obese.
According to the National Health
Yeah.
and Nutrition Examination Survey.
Oh, there you go.
That's how obese our America is.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, that's
Were those statistics put out by Joe Biden's new Assistant Secretary of Health?
Doesn't mention circling back around.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not saying. Oh, well, I remember one time for through insurance through my wife's work. I had to, if you don't meet certain criteria, you have to go and you have to make sure you're tracking your steps to like tell them all that stuff.
They probably thought you were morbidly obese.
They did. So because
BMI.
something happened where I didn't do all the requirements, and they're like, "Well, because your BMI, basically they're going to up our insurance because of my BMI."
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I was at that time I was
fatty.
I was a big old fatty fat. At that time I was I don't know probably I was well in my 230s, maybe pushing 240, and I would say I average. I don't know for sure because I've never had like a really good body fat test done, but I was in the teens, easily in the teens. So for a dude that's 5'11" at 240 with a body fat percentage, and I would say there's times where I would maybe dip down closer to 10, but like I'd usually probably stay within 13 to 18. They're like, yeah, you're obese, and I'm like, no, like I called him. I was like, look,
I'll come in if you'd like.
yeah, I said, what do I need to do? I said, because I don't think you realize like what you're dealing with here. They're like, well, you can go to this place and they'll do a body fat percentage test on you. So that would be like to negate the BMI.
Yeah.
So I go in, and I go in the door, and the guy's like, oh, okay. He's like, you're here for a body fat test in health insurance. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, take off your shirt. I took off my shirt, and he turns around and goes, well, this is the dumbest one I've ever done.
You're like, I tried telling him.
Yeah,
that.
I was like, I tried telling him, man. He's like, no. He's like, I get it. Like, insurance is insurance. They want the paperwork. He was like, but yeah, I think he put me at like, I think that time I was at like 14% or something like that. But it was just
What
like,
mode of testing did they do?
it was just the caliper.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just a caliper. I think he did a caliper
Because
test.
this is a
on,
waste of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just do 2 sites and call it a day.
Yeah, and he's like trying to like, some of the spots he's trying
I
to
can't
pinch, and
even
he's like,
pinch
he's like,
anything.
oh, like, I was like, no, it's all right. You can hurt me. It'll be fine. Like, what do you, that's a good question. Do you know like the most accurate, like, because I've heard of like the water displacement ones and different, like, I don't know really much about any of those. Have you done any of those or like?
Yeah, I've done them all. Only one I haven't done is bod pod, ironically, and you see that most often in gyms. Not most often. You see it around. So underwater weighing is the most accurate.
What? Hold on. You're talking about the hydrostatic tank?
Yeah.
So isn't DEXA? Didn't they come out with a system of DEXA that's almost just as
Back when I learned,
Yeah, so
DEXA
that-
was the second most.
okay? So I think they came out with the. Maybe look that up. I thought they came out with the DEXA that was accurate, but yeah, the gold standard was definitely the hydrostatic.
Yeah.
tank. Where'd you do that at?
Kent State.
Okay,
Yeah, we had one at Kent.
I did that down at Charleston.
Yeah, so you just get in and you sit on like this swing-like thing.
Breathe out,
breathe out, breathe
out, breathe out.
Yeah, and then you whole class is cheering you on, sitting there freezing. I'm all of 150 pounds, soaking wet. Then they take you under, and you do the test. I've done more DEXAs than any other form of testing.
Yeah.
And DEXA, at least last time I did it, I've done a couple different forms, but this one was you lay on a table, a rectangle shaped table. It has some border lines. You need to keep your body inside the lines. And then it runs like this arm across your body at literally about this rate. And it takes about 20 minutes to cover your whole body.
Jeez.
And as it does that, it's spitting out, what your body, where
Was it
your-
like measure like densities and stuff? Like, is that how it does it, or how to and it recognizing fat? through that, or?
It's, I'm not exactly sure the
Cass,
science behind it.
what's DEXA? Like, is that an acronym for something? It's been a
Well,
long time since I did anything.
going
that
back
had
to
do
the
with-
water one, so just I think I know how they do it. but
it's a regression equation.
So you go in the water, and essentially because of fat buoyancy, that the weight you weigh in the water, they're able to calculate how much the rest of your body
displaces, yeah.
displacement and everything else. So it's, okay, so it's just like a calculation piece.
Yep.
That makes sense.
What was that one? Like 2 or 3% rate of air on
I
the
don't
tank?
remember. This
Something,
was-
yeah, something like that. It's been a while.
So that's the
since I-
hydrostatic. What? Okay, there you go. What's DEXA? Scroll down.
Because what's our
So see, there's the arm I was talking about.
Okay. So they almost do like a little X-ray type. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh, it's X-ray imaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that means Gary's not part of the matrix.
Nope.
So bone density is measured separately than body fat and lean mass. Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of like just some kind of weird X-ray thing they do, and they're able to see the.
But it's cool because they break it down like this is how much fat you have in your head. This is how much fat you have in your arms.
So they're like, "Hey, you're
Like,
a
literally,
then
yeah,
get the
you
test
got a
results
fat
back,
ass hood.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a fathead, man.
Right.
Good beer. Cool.
Well, they could take it back to. They could decide if someone's really big boned or not, right?
and so DEXA you can find like what's the name of not Cleveland State, what's the Tri-C has
Okay.
one. Like you can call around and find them, and they can get you in.
That's a dual energy X-ray absorbitometry.
I knew everything except for the last word.
Absorptiometry. Yeah, I didn't get the last one. Absorptiometry. I don't know. That's a mouthful. Still don't feel like I'm saying absorptio. That doesn't sound like a word. I don't know. Oh, so they use it for other things. Oh, okay. Oh, so they can. That makes sense. So they can use it for osteoporosis because you can measure bone density and stuff too. So it's a multifaceted machine. Man, technology, huh? How about that?
What's the in-body one that we do? Is that bioelectrical impedance? So obviously your hydration status is going to play a
Yeah,
pretty-
so that's what I tell patients.
Is that the ones like they have? You see a lot of times where like they step on the scale with the barrel feet and all of a sudden.
Yeah, you see those with home scales.
Right.
This one has a handle too.
Gotcha.
So basically 4 points of contact, but it can be affected by food intake, water intake, a number of things. So for quick and easy with patients coming in and out the door, it's something, you don't have time to put somebody on. Number one, we can't afford a DEXA, but number two, you don't have time to put somebody on a DEXA and like, hey, here's an accurate reading.
Not imagine just getting a general idea,
Yeah, and so like even me when I get them, because I know that, I make sure I'm fasted every single time. And not a drop of water. I wake up that morning, I come in starving,
Yeah.
jump on the scale, and then
Trying to come in low,
right?
Yeah, it's like when you go to the doctor, they're like, "Oh, stand on the scale." Well, should I take my shoes off? Well, you can't. I gotta take my shoes
Yeah,
off.
cool.
2 seconds later, Fred's
taking
balls
your-
naked.
You're taking your necklace
So
off
you
and
can
whatnot.
put some clothes on.
Nope, got to get an accurate measurement.
That's how it is, man.
That's awesome. So, have you decided on any like specific shows you're doing? I know you said you were just kind of looking to see.
Yeah,
Or,
I know the time frame. I know some shows that are in that time frame, but it's all a strategy.
Sando, bro.
No.
Vegas.
You just gotta. It has to make sense for my level. Has to make sense for timing. A lot of pieces to the puzzle have to make sense. So I know that the general time frame. I know that I paid for 6 months with my coach. So towards the end of that 6 months, I need to know what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'll be paying them for more months. So, and I don't want to drag this out.
Right.
So, it'll be
That'd
at
be
the end
cool.
of summer.
You have to keep us posted.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
You think, is there any like local ones?
I was going to say, unfortunately, nothing will be as local as it gets would be, well, the Arnold, but I'm not doing that. There's a Kentucky show. I think it's in Lexington. It's probably 4 or 5 hours away.
Take a trip, Tony.
I do like bourbon.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting there cheering you on.
Right?
Go
Gary. I'd be like, Tony, I'm beside you. It's not even me on stage.
Kira's like, I don't know that guy.
Right.
That's probably, I can see that happening.
But, yeah, I don't know yet. So we're just going.
That'll be cool. Well, as long as, yeah, you have to keep us posted. Interested to at least follow.
Yeah.
For sure. As long as COVID doesn't.
Yeah, as long as, well, with places opening up, I'm optimistic now.
Yeah, I hope so. It sounds like more and more are opening up. More and more people are getting pissed off about it. But
Did you guys see? Well, I'm a huge UFC fan, so Dana White did a press conference yesterday. He goes, we'll be the first ones in Texas. He goes, if I could have had this, there's a big fight card tonight. He's like, if I could have had this fight card in Texas, he goes, I would have had it, no questions asked. He goes, we got another one coming up in, I think he said 3 weeks.
It'll be in Texas.
He goes, it's supposed to be in Vegas. We're trying to get it moved to
that'd
Texas
be awesome.
because he's
Smart move
trying to
at
make
it.
Yeah.
He goes,
No
we will
kidding.
be the first ones to have. I mean, they were the first ones to have a sporting event. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they went to Abu Dhabi. So
Yeah, they stayed on pretty. I mean, they were pretty early.
they were super early.
Yeah, they were. It was like midsummer. They were. Doing
And quite honestly, not that many people. Their testing is so on point that number one, you never saw. I have yet to see Dana with a mask on, not one time, and he's around all these people.
Yeah.
But they do such strenuous testing. Like when they were in Abu Dhabi, they were flying these guys in, and then they live in a bubble. They have to get in early. They stay in this bubble. You have to get tested before you get tested before the plane. You get tested after the plane. You get tested before you enter the bubble, and then I'm sure there's more testing in there.
Right.
But once you're in there, you know, same
a
as
couple
the
days
NBA.
of testing in there, you know you're good.
Right.
And that's the thing that I'm gonna do it. I said you guys
Don't do it.
No, it's not that bad.
Gotta tell you something, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You may not know this about me.
Well, I made the mistake this morning of getting up, and I was eating my breakfast, and I turned the news on. And I know it's a terrible mistake, but I turned the news on, and they keep fucking screaming at me, follow the science, follow the science. And I'm like, okay, like I get it, follow the science. So, I was like, so I started looking through numbers. Like, so I went on the CDC site, and I know, like, obviously COVID it's not great. People die. Like, it's not good. I'm not trying to diminish what COVID is, but just taking all that aside and looking at just the numbers. So we've had roughly, and I'll just round things. So you've had 500,000 deaths from that COVID has been attributed to.
Allegedly.
That's what I said. COVID has been attributed to 500,000 deaths in the United States, roughly. So I go, okay, let's look at some more numbers. So you go, 2019, 2.8 million people died in the United States. Over half of that was from heart disease and cancer. So you had 1.4 million deaths in the United States in 2019 from heart disease and cancer. Now, the cancer one, I feel like there's some things, there's some, like, that's just some genetics that you can't get around. But heart disease.
Did everybody just get healthy all of a sudden? And
Yeah. So then I look at those numbers, and then you look at the numbers, the 500,000 people, that's 0.0015% of the United States population. So 0.0015% of the population of the United States died from COVID. Of that 0.0015%, it's 80% are 60 and above, and 95% are 50 and above. So 95% of 0.0015% of the United States population has died from COVID, and they are all 50 and above. So what's the difference between being 20, 30, 40 years old, going out doing your thing, and then if you don't feel good, don't go fucking see your grandparents because you might have the fucking flu.
Right.
So to me, that's where like I have a real hard time with it, man. Like I get it now, like Texas is killing people. Yeah, people are dying every day. Like it's crass to say, but oh no, man. At least it was me.
Bro, all I can think of is, I don't know what to get my Nana. Get her a casket. That's what old people do. They die.
Yeah, so like, you know what I mean? Like with the to me, like the debate about the schools, that shouldn't even be a debate. It's a bunch of kids.
Right.
How many teachers are older than 60 years old? Not very many. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, you're telling me to follow the science. I just followed the science, and I think you're full of horse shit because what you're saying and the science don't match up. Like, I just feel like it's a lot of fear mongering.
But guess what? Your opinion doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't.
Neither does ours.
Yeah.
I don't even like. I watch the news purely as entertainment, and it's like because you start thinking
You get
into
all
it, and then you
fucking
get
worked
angry, and you're like, "This is bullshit." Like,
Yeah, this is bullshit. Like I just did what you told me to do, and
right.
it doesn't make any
Yeah, it doesn't-
sense.
Like that's I always tell people like COVID wasn't a stressor for me. Like yeah, I couldn't see as many people as I'd like to. Yeah, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. But the bright side of things, I saved a lot of money. I got to do a lot of projects that I've been trying to do. I got to started investing more. I started doing because I had extra money, so I started doing a lot of these things that a lot of people want to just talk about the bad of COVID, but yes, there's death. Yes, people are sick. Yes, we can't. We're limited on what we can do based on the rules and whatnot. But there's still, I don't know. There's still positive out of it. You get to spend more time with your family, whether you want to or not. You get to. So to get like caught up in what DeWine rules or what the news says, is like we got enough issues of our own in our own personal lives to even, get caught up in what rules they're making for us, and it is what it is. It's not like these rules are just like Fred, you can't do this, Tony, you can't do this. It's none of us can do it. So what difference does it make at the end of the day? Like why even let it stress me?
Yeah, no, and that's I'm in the same boat. Like 2020 was honestly obviously there's some downfalls here and there, but I've said it before. It was a pretty damn good year. We got a lot of shit done. Like I started this. I mean, I don't know how many people it's benefited, but there's been a few that have benefited from it. So.
Yeah, but if nothing else, it's it's fun. It's an
Yeah.
outlet for you guys.
Yeah.
Just
Well, that's why I've always said like,
creativity.
I do this just because I fucking want to.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like all the other additional things that happen because of it, like that's awesome.
Look, I put in 6 hours round trip to come down here and just talk.
That's true.
Like, I actually enjoy it. You're like, you want to go in? Yeah, I'll be there. Cool.
Yeah.
My
It's
Saturday's
like-
open.
I appreciate you.
I'm
being
driving
Yeah,
down.
I really appreciate
talking to people on the phone. Like, yeah, I'm going to shoot a podcast. I don't even know the topic today, but I'm going.
This is it.
Cool. So
No, going back to what you were saying, man, I actually have spoken with, I don't want to say many people, but a decent amount of people. And they're like, I don't know that you understand, like, what we get from the podcast in terms of just encouragement and bringing different people on and seeing people like yourself going after goals and working hard and persevering. And then, like, that actually motivates people. Or I've got different patients where we'll have people on and they're like, some of the things you guys say, like, I love that when you talk about personal accountability, personal responsibility, society of meritocracy, the fact that you guys are willing to sit down and listen to other people's opinions that you don't agree with, but you still respect, like, everyone. Like, dude, there's actually a lot of people that thoroughly enjoy that. And they're like, we love what you guys are doing. Even our patients, man. People are like, chronic curiosity.
Right.
I'm like, oh, listening to it? And they're like, yeah, we listen to it, man. I'm like, it's weird, man, when people say that too. I'm like, for me, like anyone that would take your time, which in my opinion is the absolute, like, most valuable thing you could do, and you would invest it in something that we created.
Yeah,
Like,
because you
dude,
can't get your time back.
No.
That's the one thing.
Well,
You can't get more of.
well, I mean, maybe Elon Musk can. but-
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, for me though, when someone's like, I listen to you, I'm like, you gave me your time that you can't get back, dude. I'm blown away about that. So
Yeah, I joke and I say that, but I have had a lot of people, talk about different episodes. And hey, man, I heard that your guest Gary, he said this, like that was it just really meant a lot to me. And it's funny. I just was talking to Becky Curie, and she posted something. Oh, it was about jujitsu.
Yeah.
She's doing some kind of conditioning for a jujitsu gym. Did you see that? And I was like, that's so awesome, like super jealous. And she was like, dude, like these people are just so awesome. And I was like, after we talked to Mike Manchek.
Yeah.
I was like, it really sounds like something really interesting and talked about maybe getting the kid into whatever. And she was like, oh my God, I listened to that episode. Like totally like, so it's you. We even have like people that are on the podcast that enjoy listening to other people that were on the podcast that have no.
When I listened to DeRoya, like I was like, I'm tuning into that one. Like I want to hear like the story on that. Like it's just, it's like listen, it's, we can listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all day. You have no idea what the next topic is, but he's entertaining. Like it becomes even, it's almost more entertaining to listen to Chronic Curiosity because I know you guys and like, I can relate to you guys. Joe Rogan, I don't make as much money as him. I haven't done the things he's done. You know what I mean? Like he's an everyday dude, or at least he seems like it.
Yeah.
From the outside,
a millionaire.
right? But at the same time, he's experienced things that none of us in this room will ever experience.
Right. That's what I will say. That's one thing. He'll be like, I'm just a dumb chimp. I'm like, dude, you're a UFC commentator.
Yeah.
You make hundreds of millions of dollars, and you had a TV show. Like, you're not just a normal guy.
Right.
I appreciate it. Like, and maybe
But he's grounded. You know what I mean?
he's
That's
grounded, yeah.
I think that's the point. But at the same time, there's just so many things you can't relate to because it's inevitable that he's going to mention something like, oh yeah. This one time I was speaking to Shaq when we were out on the yacht in the middle of the what? Where were you again? Like,
Like driving my Tesla Plaid edition, you're like,
Yeah. What's that? I can't.
well, no, I do like so that level of intimacy, and then I think the other cool thing too is you listen to that podcast with Rose, and it's intimate enough that if you were like, hey, I'd love to come on that podcast or I'd love to connect with that person, you can,
Right?
You can. So
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's kind of on the topic. It's kind of blowing my mind. Like I know when you were here with CJ, I'm sitting there like halfway through, CJ's telling a story, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like I am out of my zone. Like just to be able to sit across from somebody like that. And the same thing with like, talking to Rose, and it was just like, well, how did I get here? Like,
Right.
it's like, and it's not like I'm talking to Shaq on a yacht somewhere, but it was like, man, like we've met so many people and just the interactions and it's just kind of blowing me away.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like. I feel like even though Joe Rogan brings on all these people, at this point in his life, there probably aren't many things that surprise him. No matter how crazy the story is, he's probably like, "Oh, I heard one similar to that," or "I met somebody that's done something
Or, yeah, I
just
had a
like
trip
that,"
like
or
that
"I did
once."
that." Too. Where we're like, "What? Your hand got blown off, and your leg,
Yeah.
and you died, and you came back, and then you turned pro in bodybuilding." Like that's you don't see that every day.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's what makes some of these not so known podcasts cool because it's like you said, it's intimate and relatable to an extent. Not to take away from Joe Rogan because obviously he's doing something right.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's cool to get, kind of get the stories out there, man. Get CJ's story out there. Like he's got a book coming out. Get Rose's story out there. Like she wants to educate and destigmatize.
Yeah. And,
Substance
and
abuse,
even
like-
destigmatizing, I think that's a perfect example of having you here. I mean, when we talked about a couple weeks ago, we're like, hey, like, who do you want to have on this weekend, whatever? And he was like, we've both said, like, anytime Gary wants to come back, he can. I mean,
I'm always
even
down.
if we're full up, you can like sit on the refrigerator over there. Or
I
something
mean,
and hang
I got
out.
the
Like,
lead and check marks of how many times I've been here, right?
Yeah, pretty close.
There
Yeah,
you
pretty darn
He'll
close.
be
Yeah.
in the back just quoting some Chappelle.
Yeah, whatever. But like
Pete Editor.
when- if you were to just, it's so hard. Like when I produce these and put them out there, and it's like try to put a descriptor to somebody. Gary Chaney, IFBB pro, and coach. Prep
Yeah.
coach. They think, well, most people think, oh, so he's just a meathead
Meathead,
that knows a
blah,
lot
blah,
about
blah, right.
food.
They're like, he's not even that big.
Yeah, but then like even my own mind, like, and then to sit down and talk to you, and it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this dude. Like, and I think just destigmatizing people in general has been fascinating for us, like doing this and talking to people where you think, all right, this is this person's story, and then you talk to the person, and yeah, you get the story, you get what you expected, but then there's
But you get
so much
yeah.
more.
Because
Like,
so many doors open up, and
yeah.
and I agree. Yeah.
It's just really neat. And the same thing with like Glenn when we talk and how even the dynamic of all you guys meeting up together now it's here, and then going back to what you said, like I have people, oh man, I was listening to that Glenn guy story. That's a pretty crazy story. And he's just talking about like, yeah, oh yeah, we just kind of left the country, like, and moved here, and then hey, here we are. And he's like what? It's just so like nonchalant about it. Like there's so many ideas and people that I think my goal is just so someone can listen to something and go, oh, so I'm not the only person on this planet.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
And it's
there's other
crazy
things that go on out
because you might put a description behind all these people that come on, but that's only, at least for me, bodybuilding is just a part of my life. It's
Right.
If nothing else, it's a hobby that I enjoy, but that doesn't, there's a lot of things that come before being a bodybuilder. Being a dad comes far before being a bodybuilder. Bodybuilding something I have to fit into my schedule. Last night yesterday, I was at my buddy's house, and two of my best friends, one friend is in from Vegas right now. Last minute he came in.
Happy birthday. Right? Is that the birthday? You said he was home for his birthday or something like that?
No, no. So I got two friends in town.
Oh, okay.
One guy is in from Erie, and this guy is in from. He's from Ohio. He moved to Vegas.
Gotcha.
He just
Well,
came
happy
back.
birthday to
But
both of
yeah,
them.
happy birthday. Right.
If they're your friends,
Right.
they got to be great
Right,
people.
let's celebrate.
Sure. So, yeah.
So he's in town, and so I got out of work early yesterday, 3:00, shot up to Cleveland. Immediately sit down and start working on my computer. Stopped, BS with them a little bit, did a little in-house workout, and then right back to my computer. I worked on my computer because I had to get all my bodybuilders their stuff out from 3 to 9 o'clock while I'm sitting trying to entertain my friend who's in town. And so at the end of the day, it's like I said, bodybuilding is something I have to fit into. These people are dependent on me, so I have to get these plans out. Plus they're paying me. I have to get these plans out, but realistically, if it came down to it, I could drop bodybuilding tomorrow, and they're gonna figure out they'll find another coach, and life goes on, and it is what it is. But just like I said, with anybody that you've talked to, people can stigmatize what they think that person might be like until you open those doors, like we said, and find out what really makes that person tick and makes them go. And
Yeah, what's behind the cover.
yeah, so
That's super. I couldn't agree with that more. And I think that's, and even to start this, obviously, I felt like I was pretty open-minded when I started because we wanted to do this, but then it's only just flourished since then. Now it's even more like, all right, who else can we find to talk to? Like, who else? Like, it's almost like a hunger that's grown, just to find
right,
new,
what crazy story can we share with the world?
Which awesome person can I talk to next? But you said your schedule-wise, and I think you mentioned that before, where you only take on so many clients, right? And I think sounds really smart of you, because if you put yourself too far into it, then
so
you end up.
yes and no. So it gets to the point where like it's very hard to turn down people. One, obviously, you're turning down money, which isn't the driving factor for me. But people are coming to you because they want to be helped, or because they saw the work you can do, and they're like, "That's the guy I want to work with." And then you might open up one of their pictures, and you're like, "That's not the guy I want to work with." Like, this is going to be a journey. This is going to be like, I'm so busy right now. I just got one the other day. I'm so busy right now. This dude's starting from scratch. I'm going to have to go through and hold his hand. This is what's expected of you, blah, blah, blah. He's going to make mistakes. Now I'm annoyed. Like all these different, like, do you know what you just signed up for? So, a lot of those things are make or break as to why you might take somebody on. But at the same time, I would like to do this full time. I'd like to get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, type, be done by noon, and have the rest of my day to myself.
Right.
And I can do that from Ohio. I can do that from California. I can do that from Hawaii.
Yeah.
I can do that
There you
anywhere
go,
I want
talking.
to. I can pose with you virtually. I can do all these different
Right.
things, and it allows so much flexibility. But you have to have the clientele to have that freedom.
Well, that's what I was wondering. How does that stop you? Because, a lot of times people will, once you start getting well, just in general, when someone starts getting like a full plate, they go, all right, well, I'll start charging more. Because if your services are that good, people are going to pay for it. So like, what's
you use it for a weeding out process too, because if people aren't willing to pay you, they're looking for the discounted rate. Cool. I want somebody that's willing to pay me for my services, and I might get 3 that say no, but I got that one that says yes, that has tons of potential, and so on and so forth.
And then they
so
go on to be a pro.
yeah, so it's
Discounted rate, discounted product.
right, exactly. So
But what keeps you from doing that? Because it sounds like you're in high demand.
I'm not in the demand I would need to match what I make.
Right.
my
I think it's a
day-to-day.
hard flip over too for people that have like a that 9 to 5 or that career job to go into being starting a business or something like
Yeah.
that, where it's, man, like the potential's there, but like you don't make enough to like completely take over your job, but you never really will, because if you're making enough to take over your job, that means you're working more. So like you
Right.
can only work so much.
So honestly,
You got a plan to do it?
the biggest thing is for me right now, honestly, is I'm looking to buy another house, and they need that 2 years of consistent income.
Yeah.
And so going back to being self-employed starts me from scratch again. And so everything just has to make sense. Otherwise, I don't really have much holding me back. I've pretty much convinced myself which direction I want to go. And I got a couple other business ventures I'm working on. So even, like right now, bodybuilding money is just supplementary for me. It's cool. Like it literally I talk about this all the time with my friends, but I go out with my Cash App card. If we go to restaurants or whatever on the weekends, I have a Cash App card, which a lot of clients pay me on Cash App. We go out. I don't even know the balance on it. I just swipe it because it's just extra money. It just sits in that account. I don't really care. It doesn't come out of my bank account. I don't see it disappear.
Right.
And then it gets replenished when somebody pays me. So to spend $50, $100, $200, $300, I'll make that back in no time, and I'm good to go. So it's cool because it's a side hustle.
Right. Where did you get that? Where did you kind of get that sense from? Because like a lot of people have that's. I feel like I'm gonna make a generalization here. One of the biggest issues with people and their money issues is because they don't know how to manage it properly. They don't they don't handle it very well. So they got the money, they got to spend it. Where did you get that? Because that's a really good idea, is having, getting to the point where you have like kind of your own little business that you're doing, and then just having all of that stay separate, and then being able to kind of enjoy that and keeping it. It's like
So it's a good question. So this is kind of
because there's not a lot of
deep
people that, like,
topic for
if they
me.
think if they got a lot of money, like, especially, well, I started this business and this business is making a lot of money, so now I can just like spend it all willy nilly. Like, but
All right, so bear with me on this one.
no, yeah, take your time.
So when I was my aunt raised me, and we were middle class. No, I'll go all the way back. So when I lived with my mom, we were like dirt poor, like dirt. My whole life story is a whole nother session.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
if you didn't have to be out of here by
right.
in an hour, I would
Right.
tell you I got time.
That's a whole nother session. But long story short,
There
I
we
ended
go.
up moving
Episode
in.
4.
Right,
Gary,
Gary's
come back.
life. So I ended up living with my aunt, and it was my aunt, my sister, my cousin, and me. And she worked at Packard. Anytime we'd ask for something, she was, I don't have it. Right? she's supporting 3 kids. When we were younger, like, yeah, right, you have it. Like, you work at Packer. Back then, that was a pretty good job. But anyway, it is what it is. So I developed a work ethic. It was funny because people in college knew, like, Gary's at work. Gary's doing. I had 3 jobs through college. I started working my first job was when I was 12. I was working at a pager shop. My neighbor owned a pager shop, so I was there. My job was to go in.
You're really dating yourself
I had
now.
to, yeah, I had to call these people and tell them that their pager bill was due, or that it was past due. And on the backside, he had a mechanic shop, so I would clean up and all this crazy stuff. And then, I went on, grew up, had, worked through high school, moved in with my wrestling coach, paid for my whole college, so on and so forth. And now, and even as an adult, this is my first job as an adult where I have a boss. The very first job I've ever had where I get a paycheck from somebody else that is paying me because I'm working for them. But when I lived with my aunt, I'll never forget, she gave us a Santa dollar. She called it a Santa dollar, and it was $1. We got it on Christmas, and it had a sticker over the president's face, and it's a real dollar and everything. You could take the sticker off and go spend it if you want. She said, you always keep this in your wallet, because as long as you have this in your wallet, you'll never be broke. And I kept that thing in my wallet till I was damn near 20. Yeah, still got your Santa dollar. And my sister didn't have hers. My cousin didn't have her. I got my Santa dollar. I got my Santa dollar. And so I held on to that thing forever. And as I got older, my family would always call me a miser. They're like, you hold on to every last dollar you have. Like, you never spend it. Like, you're not we give you money for this or that, and or you work and you get your money, and you're not like anxious to go out and spend it on the next thing at Walmart or whatever. And I'll never forget this either. This was probably 10 years ago. Like, the only thing I spent my money on was travel. Like, I'd work. Then I'd take a trip to Vegas, work, and take a week to Florida, whatever. And my aunt asked my mom, she said, "Is Gary selling drugs or something? How is he able to afford all these trips?"
Right.
That's all I spend my money on. Like, I don't buy supplements and I take trips. Like, that's pretty much it. So that's what I enjoy doing. So I credit it to my aunt. She created the mindset that, I want, hold on to your money. But on the flip side of things, I was having this conversation with a friend a couple months ago. And I think one of the issues of getting more money and making more money is that we start spending more freely, and we start doing things we don't need to do, or we start doing things that you justify it in your head. Well, it's just like, I'm on vacation, like, so what? Or I don't do this often, so it's justified. An example, I had a birthday party at Ivy in Cleveland last year, 2 years ago now.
Say, better
Yeah,
not be last year.
2 years ago. And I had a bunch of friends come out, and they told me the price was going to be this, X amount of dollars, $700 or whatever. We had bottles, whatever. So at the end, like, all my friends threw in whatever, it added up to $700. And they gave me the bill, and it said like over $1,000. And now at this point, I got the bill at the end of the night. People have already left and everything. So I'm like, I can't go back to these people and like, hey, can you throw me another 60, $70? Right. Even though they sat there and drank just like I did, whatever. It's just, they came out to support me and have fun on my night. I'm not going to go back at the end of the night like, hey. So I was like, you know what, just eat the cost. Like, who cares? This is your birthday. So now on my birthday, I'm paying out an extra $400 or so that I did not plan on paying out. Right. But because I make more money now, I was like, so what? It's $400. Where back in college, $400 will get you a long way. So
at least the next meal or two for
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. So, and like I said, I have that card where I spend it freely. I don't even look at the it's not like I'm balling out like crazy, but I don't even look at the balance on this card because it doesn't mean much to me. That money doesn't mean much to me. So I've developed some bad habits, as I go because I'm making more money and it's easier to, have $5,000 in your Venmo and you're like, I don't care about who cares.
Right.
Like the money's not going anywhere. It's going to be replenished. Where a long time ago I wouldn't have done those things, but you only got one life to live.
Yeah, I mean, you're not,
Justification, you can't take it with you.
yeah, you can't. Well, I think I had a conversation with somebody at one point where they were talking about money. It wasn't money. What was it? It was something about free time or the time to do this, that, whatever. And I had kind of had this conversation that I was like, because it was a business owner, and they really chased a dollar hard. And to me, I'm like, you know what? They knew that I hadn't grown up with a lot. So when I finally got to the point in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm going to pay all my bills this month on time. Like, I got food in the fridge. Cool. Like, that's all I've ever wanted in life.
Yeah, I'm
And-
complete.
Yeah, like I don't need much more. Like I got a couple extra bucks to spend on some stuff here and there. Like I'm good. And they were kind of asking me for I think it was advice or something like that. And I was like, I don't have to tell you, man. I said I pay my bills. I have food in my fridge. That's all I worry about. I was like, I guess more money, more problems. You
Right,
know?
right, right,
You know
right.
what I mean, like I don't.
And you just start to prioritize as to what food in your fridge, obviously paying your bills, a roof over your head for you and your family. Those things all make sense, and then anything from there is complimentary, supplementary.
It's bonus.
As long as it as long as it doesn't affect what those main priorities are. And I guess that's kind of how I look at things. You work hard. You want to be able to spend that money, and if you another thing is as you start making more money, you want some of the more expensive things. You got a friend that's driving this, you got a friend that's driving that. You're like, I can afford, I can afford that. But do I really need? Do I really need that? I can afford to have this, but does it even make sense? So sometimes those are the internal battles I have with myself. Do I really need to have this or that? I just paid my car off, and I'm like, cool. I can get a nice car. Now I can get a luxury vehicle if I want. But I just paid this one off. Why would I? And
really
it
nice.
has 70,000 on it. Not a scratch, not a dent, not an issue. Needs new tires. Like,
Right.
woo. But in my head, I've gone back and forth. I'm like, oh, I could get it. And then I go back into a car payment.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, if you keep that car for a couple more months and you continue not to have that car payment, that's where I'm at. Like I have this truck it's an older truck, but it still runs. And then I had an issue a couple weeks back where I thought something like big might be wrong with it, and I was like, fuck,
Right.
man, I had this thing paid off. Like it's got some miles on it, but it runs good. Like it's my work vehicle. Like I don't owe nothing on it. And then for a split second, I was like, oh, there's something wrong with it. Might have to buy another truck. Might have to buy a new
Darn.
truck. Like I'm kind of pissed off about it, but I'm kind of not. And then I fixed it really easily. And I was like, and then as soon as that happened, I was like, no, I still don't have a truck payment. It's all good.
Right.
I still,
Yeah, you got to reground yourself and come back to reality.
yeah, so I can spend more money on the podcast.
Right. The camera.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, we got some new stuff going on, man. It's I had that conversation. Well, actually, Tony had to talk me off of a weird ledge, which you never think Tony would do.
Usually I'm a full send it kind of guy.
Yeah, usually he's the one pushing you off the
Jump.
ledge.
Just jump. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I was like, because we're doing, like I said before, I don't remember if we were recording or not when we started, but obviously it's a little different than when you came on last time. We're doing some additional things and starting to get some things out. We got some actual t-shirts coming out that are going to be available for people and doing different things. But it was like, man, I'm going to spend this money on this thing because it's like we're not making money on this thing, and that's not the point. But putting a lot of money into this, and then but at the same time, he's like, like bills are paid, got a roof over your head, your family's eating. Like, if you have money to spend to give back to other people and to make something and create something and enjoying what you're doing, like, I could spend my money on a lot worse things.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to waste my money, I might as well waste it on something that's productive.
Get
and,
right.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the IRS says you can have about 300 square foot of your house as an office, and anything office related. Everything I see in here looks like a tax write-off.
I've been keeping track of my receipts. Trust me, I can tell you that.
You don't even need receipts anymore.
Yeah, well,
So,
just keeping track.
I know. No,
I don't know how any of that shit works. Own my own business. So what the hell did you do before the last 2 years?
I was a strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, so it's like, did you like right out of high school or college? You said you went to college. Is that what you went to college for?
Mm-hmm. Exercise science.
Yeah, that's really good, Tony. That Bellamy.
So yeah, right out of college, I was a strength conditioning coach for 11, 12 years. And
How'd you land that? Just right, like just.
That's a good story too. Dude, I got. Life is crazy. I'm one of the luckiest people ever. So, out of college, I moved to Aurora and I got a deal on a rental. I was coaching wrestling. A guy I knew, or the other head coach, he was close with one of the wrestling parents and they had a rental. So I took this rental. I lived out in the middle. I grew up only in the city. I lived out in the middle of nowhere. Big pond in my backyard. Long driveway. Come home, there's 4 or 5 deer in the front yard. Definitely not my style.
So it had to be a little different
It'd be
for
cool
you.
if I had a bunch of 4-wheelers and stuff, but I didn't. So I'm just living out in the middle of nowhere. The next house is yards, probably 60, 70 yards away, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that far. But when you grew up with
when you grew up from in the city,
10 yards away versus 60, 70 yards
Yeah.
away, it's a whole different ball game.
Get some great ragers out there though.
You do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things out there and not get in trouble. Right. So, I was reading through, oh shit. What's
Home
that
and
website?
Garden?
No, not Home.
No.
I forget what website it was. Anyhow, there was a job opening for a strength conditioning coach. So I ended up going up to this place called Ohio Nets. It was a sports performance facility. They mostly work with volleyball players. Poorly ran. These guys were young. They didn't know what they were doing. But I showed up every day. It was out in Parma, whatever. Worked there. And that place ended up going under. So now I'm back in Aurora with no job. I was like, well, I'm just going to train people independently. I don't really know what I'm going to do at this point. Yeah, so I didn't work out of a gym or anything. I'm literally no options at this point. So I'm in the gym one day and I'm training, and I've been able to network and meet a lot of great people in Aurora. And I'm training and I'm doing a movement, some cable movement for shoulders. And a guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, what's that movement?" I was like, "Oh, it's this." Showed him how to do it. He goes, "Oh, okay. My name's Geist." I was like, "Hey, I'm Gary. Nice to meet you." He goes, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm a strength conditioning coach." He goes, "You any good?" "Oh, I like to think I am." He goes, "You train baseball players?" I was like, "Yeah, I can train baseball players." He goes, "I got a kid. I'd like you to train him. How much do you charge?" I was like, "Never trained independently. Let me get back to you on that."
That's a good answer.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, I start training this kid. I'm undercharging him. I'm charging him like, it was something so cheap. I can't even believe I did it. It's like $25-$30 an hour or something, like dirt cheap. Because in my head, I'm like, you got to start small and build up. You know,
Right.
You don't really know what you're capable of because you haven't had this type of clientele. So I start training him, then I start training his brother. And then they introduced me to the Carpenters. The Carpenters, Matty Carpenter was a former MLB catcher. So I start training his kids. His son, Matty Jr., ends up going to Ohio State and plays for Ohio State. So all his kids are athletes. I end up training them, and then it just steamrolls, and I'm picking up all these kids in Aurora. And now I'm running like agility drills outside at the football field, anywhere I can get space. You know, I'm training these kids.
This is all like in your mid-20s?
Yeah, this was a year out of college or so. So I started to build up a name for myself, and Matty Carpenter, he had, he was willing to help me. He had money, and he was, and he knew I was young, and that winter came. And so he's like, I want you to still train my kid. We need to find a place for you to train him. So 10 minutes from me was a place called The Edge. They had a 50-yard turf field in there. They had a full weight room with all hammer strength machines. They had 4 basketball courts. So Matty was like, here, I'll pay for it. You rent the space. Only thing is, I ask you train my kids. Obviously, you're going to train them for free if I'm paying for all this. But you can also train all your other clients and do whatever. Sold.
Yeah, it helps to have some backing.
Right.
Oh, no shit. That's awesome.
So I go up to The Edge, walk in, never even been in this place. I just know it's a sports performance place. I'm looking around. Guy comes out. His name's Brian. Brian is who was supposed to be here today.
We'll have to get him on.
Hey, so I said, hey, man, I'm just looking to rent the space. He said, what are you renting for? I said, basically what you do here. I just have my own clientele. He's like, yeah, it's not going to work. Like, conflict of interest. Like, we don't want you in here stealing our whatever. Right. He didn't know me, so I'm like, that's fair, whatever he said. But I do have a coach quitting this week. He said he found another job. He goes, so I'm looking to hire somebody as my assistant. I haven't put out, I haven't put anything out yet. He goes, give me your resume, and we'll see if we can get you in here. I was on a Monday. By like that Friday, I was hired.
Talk about timing, huh?
Yes. Started the following week. Was able to bring all my clients there, train them on the field, training the people at The Edge. Ended up staying there for, X amount of years. Now I did receive a paycheck from them for the 2 hours out the day that I had to do their work, right, which was run a class. But outside of that, I was there all day training my clients that came through the door.
It was like a contractor. It was
yeah. So the disconnect with that place was when they were trying to rape my pockets. They were taking way too much money for clients that they did not recruit, for training that they did not, for marketing they did not give me, and for an education that they did not provide. And so I branched off from them, started training people started doing a group fitness class over here at Barrington, started a rec center opened up. I took all my clients over to the rec center, gave them a split of my money. And then next thing you know, I started training the owner of where I work at now. And he kept saying, can you work for me? Can you come work for me? Can you work for me? I was like, I don't want to work for you. I don't want to work for you. Eventually
we want to buy a house, though.
But yes. So eventually got in with him. And that was pretty much. And then all along, I was doing my bodybuilding stuff on the side. And that just continued to develop and everything. So the only stipulation with working at Affinity was that I had to stop all my personal training. So I had to stop that. He's like, you won't have time. I was like, yeah, well. Hindsight,
are all your bodybuilding clients all online? You don't do any in person
posing? Like today, before I got here, I lifted with one and posed with them. Oh. But I might pose 1 to 2 times a week, if that, and it's on my schedule.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of your bodybuilding stuff is nutritional prep, like that kind of work. Do you do like workouts too, or are you just mainly like
when they're in season? My whole package is workouts, diet, nutrition, workouts, posing, anything to get you ready for the show.
So you give them workouts too.
Yeah.
Like I would maybe, and again, assuming, I would imagine people that are getting prepped for shows know how to do a workout if you give them the workout. Like it's not like, because I've worked out with some people before, like, a friend or, a relative will be like, man, I just don't know why I'm not seeing any gains or why I'm living. I'm like, well, your workouts probably suck. They're like, no, I hit it pretty hard. And I'm like, well, come work out with me, and we'll see how hard you hit it. And then half an hour in, they're like, oh, yeah, I don't hit it this hard. Right. But I feel like most of the people you deal with probably know how to work out in a sense. No?
You'd be surprised. A lot of them don't train. They think they train hard, and they don't. So it's a rude awakening when I break them down.
Like CJ?
Yeah. You break down their form. You break down why they're not developing a certain way, their intensity, whether that be lifting, whether that be cardio. A lot of my guys, they make it easy for me because they're like, no, I don't need a workout. I'm cool. Like I know what I'm doing in the gym. Cool. That's one less thing for me to do.
Right.
You know, I don't enjoy writing these workouts. So, but we're talking about a specific sport, and you know, it's not about getting stronger. It's about molding your body a certain way. So if I were to look at anybody in this room and you're talking about competing, I can look at you and say, hey, your shoulders need to grow, or hey, this
Right.
needs to grow, and you got a really good developed upper back, but your mid to low back is weak. Oh well, what do I need to do? Well, you need to change your grip to underhand and do this or that. So
Specialty type
yeah,
stuff.
so that's where I can kind of narrow. I don't care how much gym experience you have. You might know every machine and what it does, but do you know how that machine relates to your body?
Right.
So that's where I can go in with the most experienced guy, a guy that's way bigger than me, way stronger than me, maybe even trains harder than me. I got guys that train harder than me, but do, are they lifting for a purpose outside
Right.
of just to lift, outside of just to get bigger, outside of just to get stronger?
It's
How do you
fascinating.
gauge someone's intensity and how they're actually doing when so much of it's online?
That's easy. A lot of times, well, what I'll do a lot of times is, especially with my girls, I'll say, hey, you know, let's get together and train together one day. What body part you want to hit? Oh, they all say legs. Oh, that's it, legs. Glutes.
Gotta get that fat booty.
Glutes, cool. All right. And then right then and there, I'll go the whole workout and not really say much. I'll adjust how they're training, you know, hey, you're doing that wrong or do this. But then when we get done, I give them the cold, hard truth. You don't train hard. What do you mean? This whole workout, you were always 3 reps short of failure. You were this or that.
Right.
You got to start picking it up. Like that's why you're not seeing it. I said, the girl that you're going to be next to on stage, she's training hard right now. I said, so when you get second place or when you get fifth place,
It ain't their fault.
yeah, it's yours.
Yeah.
I just had a girl I trained with a few weeks ago, and honestly, she's been the first girl that I didn't have much critique for. We got done, and I was like, I'm going to tell you something. And I said, I don't want you to tell your friends that also work with me. I said, but you train. She goes, thanks. I appreciate that. Like, I really try to go in and work my hardest. And she was there for it. She worked her butt off. There wasn't much I could say. There was things I could adjust, but intensity wise, that wasn't an issue. And, you know, that's how I approach. You know, I can have them send me videos or whatever, but of course, you know, in a minute, you're gonna,
Anybody can get intense for 30 seconds.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, I wondered how if so much of it is online, but being able to see them in person and see what they're
Yeah.
doing. That
Now the ones that are, you know, I got people that are out of state. You just gotta, if I have any sense that somebody's not training that hard, their cardio is gonna be hell because we got to get this off you some way. So if you're not training hard, you can guarantee that your food's gonna be lower and that your cardio is gonna be heavier. You can't cheat cardio outside of not doing it. You can't cheat cardio. So, I mean, I guess you can intensity wise, but I give them the ranges that their heart rate needs to be and so on. So if you're not abiding by that, this isn't the sport for you.
That's fascinating. So you're really speaking my language now. I love it. So you're really looking at like the intricacies and like the roots of all the things they're doing, and because like you said, to your point, Cass, like you can't see somebody that's 2 states away, but I would imagine with your knowledge and capabilities that I'm assuming that you have from the conversations that we've had, you know, by looking at their body structure and their weight or this or that, whatever, as long as they're not outright lying to you,
Which they do.
which right, but you can say like, all right, well, I can see what you look like. Something's not right because, you know, what you've developed and the things that you're doing are obviously have worked.
Right.
So something has to be wrong. You know, I it's fascinating thinking about your capability of being able to look at somebody and being like, yeah, you're not doing this, or this, because if you were doing all 3 of these things, you wouldn't look
We'd
like
be
you do.
further along. Right. And sometimes, you know, you do. I got a girl right now. We're playing catch up. I know I've trained with her enough and I've trained her long enough to know where her mindset is. She's the type that She doesn't complain much. When it gets hard, she's like, it's hard, but I'll do what you tell me to do. Like there's no issues. She could train harder, but all in all, she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. And that's when it falls back on me. Like, okay, this girl's putting in the work. I know she's not cheating. Like, if she's cheating, she's holding a poker face. Like, she's lying blatantly to my face. But I know she wants to win. She wants to excel. She wants to improve. She hadn't competed in years. But we hit a wall, and I couldn't get over that wall. I couldn't figure out her body, what was going wrong with it. And like, this is where it gets tricky, because you have to really pay attention and take notes and remember the smallest of details. Might not seem like a big deal until you hit that wall, and then you realize that's what's going on. So in her case, I would give her refeeds. If I gave any of you guys refeeds in this room, what it typically looks like is you're running a diet plan, and let's just say, just to keep things simple, you're doing 100 carbs a day, okay? 100 carbs a day, you're like, man, I'm struggling. My energy's not there. I'm like, we got to do this. We got to get you leaner or whatever. And then I hit you with the refeed. I hit you with the refeed to spike your metabolism to, multiple reasons. But I hit you with this refeed, and that refeed is maybe 400 grams of carbs that day. You're like, I feel fantastic. My pumps were crazy. My veins were out of my arms. Like, I slept fantastic. Like, all the positives in the world. God, I wasn't hungry. I even struggled to finish the food, but I don't care. It was great. I would give her refeeds, and she'd be like, I just feel so tired. Like, refeeds are not that great to me. I don't understand why people love these so much. Like, it just makes me sleepy. Like, I'd be better off without the refeeds. No, I need to refeed you for this reason, this reason. And that was every time I gave her a refeed, she'd say that. And I kind of just blew it off. You'll be fine. Eat the food. And she'd eat the food, and that's fine. Well, we started, like I said, we hit that wall, and those refeeds, I started thinking, maybe her body doesn't respond well to more carbs. But maybe her body, like, she feels better on less carbs. Cut carbs, she's like, yes. Like, I like this better. The more carbs, the worse I feel. But fats are another energy source. And so I started thinking, anytime her fats have been manipulated and her fats are higher, she feels fantastic. So I was like, I'm going to do something I've never done before with anybody. I said, I'm going to refeed you with fats and drop your fats off when I want to cut you. So I refed her with fat. She's like, oh my God, this was fantastic. I feel so good. She's like, I'll eat all the avocados in the world. I'll eat all the nuts. Like, this is great. Like, she felt great. And she's now losing like 3 pounds. Like, it's fallen right off of her.
That's awesome.
That wall we hit, which took about 4 weeks to get over, it's now fallen off of her. Every couple of days she's dropping. And we're playing catch up now, but I think we're going to be okay.
But you figured it out.
But I figured it out, and now I know moving forward. Unfortunately, this is a task that's based on time. So you only have you can't afford to have those walls. A 1 or 2 week wall, okay, cool. A 4 or 5 week wall, that's 4 or 5 weeks you've lost. And so, I don't have to get on stage. She has to get on the stage. Right. So I even, in an effort to always be honest and straightforward, I told her, because this is going to happen. This happens in any aspect of running your own business. You're not always going to have a happy client, or you have to deliver bad news in some capacity or another. Hey, we were working on your house and we accidentally put a hole in your wall. Don't worry, we'll patch it up. But we did put this hole in your wall, right? Yeah. We can't get out there till next week to patch it, though.
Yeah, right.
So in her case,
then the customer doesn't want to pay you to patch up the hole in the wall that they
right.
put there. Yeah.
So in her case, I said the deadline to enter this show is actually today. The deadline before they hit you with late fees is actually today. I said, don't enter the show today. I said we're behind. We hit a wall. This is what happened. Like, you realize it. I said, your body's a little bit different than everybody else's. It took me a minute. I'm glad we figured it out. But I don't want you to enter this show, pay for everything, commit to this, and then us not look the part. So I said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to enter the show. the day before the show, the absolute last time you can sign up, and then I'm going to cover the difference on the late fee. So if the late fee is $60, cool, it's my fault. I'll pay the $60, and it's like it never happened. But I'm not going to have you paying late fees on top of me not having you ready on time. That's just an asshole move. Like, it's not that serious to me. I don't care if the late fee was $300. I should have had you ready.
That's your name, too.
So the last thing I want her doing is, and she wouldn't do this, but she gets done it. Yeah, I wasn't ready. I had to pay all these late fees. Fuck Gary, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That's not, I'd rather her not go through with this show and we find another show a couple weeks later. She has to diet a little bit longer. And I wouldn't even, if I tell you we're going to get ready for a show and I can't get you ready in that time, I'm not going to keep charging you. That's not really your fault. You essentially signed a contract for 20 weeks with me. Beyond that is, now if we finish that 20 weeks and you're like, I want to do 3 more shows, cool, I'm going to charge you. But
Well, I think it goes to the kind of person you are too.
yeah,
Because not only is it, I hear you saying that, like, obviously you don't want her to walk off the stage being pissed and, fuck Gary, whatever. But I feel it because the way you've talked about your customers before too is it's not only about your name, but it's, you don't want them to step on stage and be frustrated with themselves.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's, you just,
And they got family and friends. That's embarrassing when you get last place and you've worked your ass off
yeah.
and you've done what you're supposed to do. In this case, she's done what she's supposed to. I've had ones that didn't do what they're supposed to do, but in this case, she has done what she's supposed to do. So to, not get the results, she doesn't have to get first place. If she got beat, we're looking to bring the best her. If she got beat, she got beat. But if she got beat because of me, I have trouble sleeping with that at night. Like, those things give me crazy anxiety. Like, having somebody come out on the stage, if she walked across the stage right now and I knew she wasn't as best she could be, it's hard for me to even watch it. Like, you're just watching it unravel on stage and you're like, Jesus Christ. And then when she gets off,
Oh,
you know how hard those conversations are?
right.
Like, and because they all deal with it different, some are like silent, they just want to be by themselves. Some immediately come find me. What went wrong? And you got to break things down. Like, well, your posing was off, or this was off, or I don't know, or well, we hit that wall back 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's rough.
But hey, we'll get better. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, right when you
Yeah.
lose, that's the last thing
Yeah.
you want to hear is,
Yeah,
we can do better next time.
My bank account's not getting better. All this money I spent, that's how they feel. So, when somebody doesn't do well, it's my next strategy is, what's this conversation look like?
Right.
And my approach is usually give them their space. They'll come find me. Every time I have to shift my focus to the next person. It's hard not to get caught up in my head about it, but I have to shift my focus to the rest of the clients I have at that show. They'll come find me when they're ready to talk. Then we discuss everything and figure it out from there.
Yeah. Well, I think you mentioning how she was different, that particular client, it just really hits me how even not only in the physical health aspect of everything, but mentally and, even as far as ideologically, everybody's a little different. Everybody reacts to things a little differently, whether it be carbs or, some, whatever it is, everyone kind of reacts to things a little different. And I think at the same time, like sometimes people change. Have you ever seen like clients' bodies change at certain times too? Because I know it's been weird lately. I've got off of my COVID laziness and finally started getting back into the gym a little more and started working out. And like, there's days where I'll come home and be like, I just need to eat some like chicken and some veggies. And I'll just slam everything. But I've never thought about like, the refeed things like, carbs. And I've heard a lot of people, just eat. Some people are like, no, keto, no carbs at all. And some people are like, it's with the nose to tail, just eat all the intestines of all the animals. And that's what's best for you, like all the different things. But some people just, And I think we've talked about it too on the podcast where it's
I got a pot. I got to use.
you got we can take a break.
I just got to be.
We'll take a break. We'll potty break. I'll rant for a little bit while you do your thing. You got that's got to be. I'm saying 1,400 calories there. How much do you know? How much it is? That's got to be at least like a what? Like a pound and a half of rice.
It's 27.5 ounces.
27.5 ounces. So it's not. Well, yeah. So that's
8, 16, 24. So 3 pounds and some.
no. Wait a minute. No, 16 pounds is or 16 ounces is a pound.
I'm tripping. I'm thinking 8 in my head. So
Fluid. 8
Yeah.
ounces. What? 8 fluid ounces is
a cup.
a cup, and 16 ounces is a pound, right? No, don't no.
This isn't being live, is it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm recording.
A pound of fluid, a pound of fluid per water is like.
Well, that's fluid. That's
Hold on, what are you figuring then?
well. It depends. If you're saying 16 ounces as a pound, like 16 ounces, like weighted ounces.
Yeah, 16 ounces of something that has gravity on it should be a pound.
Yeah. So say, but 8 ounces is a cup. So that's a volume measurement versus.
So this is just shy of 2 pounds.
Yeah. How do they ever do that? Like that's a lot of food.
And I guess once you weigh the chicken in there, it's for sure 2 pounds of food.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 2 to 3 pounds of food.
Feel that.
I know.
That's more like 3 fucking pounds. dude.
That's a lot of food.
Good luck is what that feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be shitting 8-pound babies after that.
8-pound babies.
How many times did they be?
Like
Shit.
4 times.
I was like 5 to 6, dude. When I was like 235, dude.
Oh, it's a lot of food.
Yeah, usually like 4
what
times.
were you when you were 255? Were you shitting like
I don't
4+
know.
times a day?
No, because like I said, I'm a snacker, so I eat constantly. But I for whatever reason,
You were a snacker on top of fucking stopping in the middle of
I
tree
was.
work and eating fucking
I had to.
multiple meals.
Sometimes you
You would
gotta.
walk to the chipper and be out of breath. I'd be like running
Yeah,
5 circles
that's a big-
around you. You're like,
Yeah, well, like when I did, like, because when I realized, like I said, I'm about 5'11", and when you're 250 pounds at 5'11", like, and I wasn't like shredded, and I wasn't doing fucking cardio. I can tell you that. I was just that was during I just want to get huge and be strong. It would be like just bending down to tie my shoes. Like I wasn't fat. Like I wasn't like I didn't look like one of the strongman competitors, because those dudes, like not that they're fat, but those dudes got a lot of fat on them because they're eating like 25,000 calories a day because they're 350 pounds and, mostly muscle. But man, you just get so big to a point where it's like, you start pushing on organs and stuff.
can't wipe my ass.
Yeah, like and I'm in the shower. I'm
got
just
a bidet up there.
I'm just knocking shit over.
Cassie.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have to get a washcloth big enough that you can grab both ends of it and do the
There you go.
like you have to like use a hand towel for a washcloth.
Circular. It goes from the butt crack all the way through the back.
Well, butt crack last.
Well,
Butt crack last for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. But yeah, man, like even being that big and quote unquote good shape, it's still like it's a struggle. Like I don't know how like actual bodybuilders do like the big like bodybuilding class dudes are like, like the Ronnie Colemans and like
Dude, those fuckers get up to like, dude, what was he like 330 or 340 and then cuts down?
to like 260.
No,
like,
he was like 285 or 290 when he was on stage.
look at Rami. He's a monster.
Yeah,
yeah, like some of those dudes are just
He gets on it over 300.
it's
that's ridiculous.
crazy.
300. 2%
Crazy.
body fat. What?
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of bodybuilding, I gotta ask something here. So, dude, old Rogan had a little special on there about. So you know how you're dyeing up, like coloring your body.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
black
so-
body.
Yeah, yeah. So,
They're
dude,
called- they call-
like, dude, everyone does the dye and stuff.
Talking
or
about tanning?
the tan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fake
Oh,
tan.
I'm like,
I didn't-
dying. I'm
No,
like,
dude. Well, the dye or whatever.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tan-
yeah.
It's
So,
basically
dude,
a
I
dye.
didn't realize that. I thought this was a joke. So, dude, whenever I watch, and it's been a pretty long time since I've seen any bodybuilding, but dude, like white dudes stop at the head now. I mean, is that something you've seen? Because they say it's like they think it's going to be offensive to have a black face, the whole black body. Dude, I'm not making this up. Exactly.
They were.
I'm not even lying, man. So their whole body's like black tanned, and their face is white.
I'd take my chances if I was white. Fuck that. You
That's
put
what
so
I'm-
much time into this.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like,
People can be as pissed as they want. They'll come to the show then.
what?
Yeah.
So I wondered, like,
culture, yeah,
have you seen that? Have you heard of that? Like,
I've never heard of that. I've seen guys stop at their neck
Yeah.
or their face because technically it's for your body. Like,
yeah,
if you've never spray tanned or, I mean, spray tan is one thing, but to have like that,
Oh, yeah. They were talking about. Yeah, look at that one.
but to have
Oh, that's pretty brutal.
to have that thick of a tan solution on your face, and you sweat and it's sticky.
You end up looking like what's his name? Oh shit.
Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, Giuliani, and he had that president with his
Yeah,
hair dye.
yeah.
His hair dye is running down his face.
But yeah, a lot of guys don't spray, and girls too. But guys don't spray their faces because a lot of guys apply makeup, believe it or not, and they want a lighter complexion up top because
to
they don't
accentuate the body.
to not take off any focus on the body. So everything
got
starts
you.
to blend together, especially when you include hair and so
Yeah.
on. So
Because, dude, they were saying, like, white dudes with blackface might be offensive to, like, the
No.
black culture. And I was like, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was because it was the one with Brendan Schaub, and it was a hilarious fucking conversation that they had. But it was just like there's a weird fear there. Where like so you never know now. Like apparently Dr. Seuss is a super racist guy now. It's like man, like I get what they're
Bro, you
saying.
still reading your daughter Dr. Seuss?
no, but not because
I'm just joking.
just because she's
I'm
reading,
just joking.
she's
Yeah.
reading more advanced
Yeah,
things.
she's
Yeah,
reading
she's like-
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
she's like,
Yeah.
Dad, this is fiction. I like nonfiction.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. She doesn't.
Oh, wow. I was gonna say that's
She's
pretty
still-
awesome. If she
She's only
does.
4. No. But that's another thing. Like I don't get, like I was saying earlier when we were talking about Corona and everything. I don't get caught up in, and I've told you this before.
Yeah,
we sat
yeah.
down and you asked me about, all the. I don't even want to get into that on this podcast, but just a lot of things that go on in this world.
Sure.
So Dr. Seuss, movements, Corona. It affects me. It may affect my kids. It may affect my family. But it's just easier to stay removed from it than to. There is nothing I can't stand more than going on Facebook and seeing somebody post something about their opinion, and there's 300 responses bashing them or agreeing with them, or 2 strangers arguing through Facebook. Who the fuck cares? Like you can argue all you want. Doesn't change the facts that this is happening in our world. So why even waste your energy? I'll defriend anybody that says this. Then unfriend them. Like who cares? It's Facebook. The fact that we put so much energy into social media, that's a whole nother topic in itself. But those are headaches I don't need to have personally.
Sure.
No, for sure. And I think we've kind of touched on it before too, where it's, I personally am more plugged into like watching the news and all those things just to, I found a good balance. I think I'm finding a better balance with it now. I did say I'd have one for Gary since he's kind of choked down that giant meal. I'm finding a better balance because I feel like because I was not involved in politics because it was always like who cares? It doesn't matter no matter who the president is or no matter what. It's all fucked regardless. I'm finding a better balance, but like in the last year, like with same thing you said, you talked about being like last year you started investing more.
Yeah.
And
You found yourself.
Yeah, learning
Focusing on-
things
yeah.
and reading books, and I'm still like I think I have like 7 books going, but reading more books and in learning about things. So I found myself doing that. And I found myself entrenched, especially last year with the political scene that was going on and everything that it was, in trying to be as impartial to everything as I could, and really trying to just to learn and trying to decide, okay, like what do I really believe? What do I really think about this, and trying to learn all these different things. But I found myself like getting to the point where it was like, I had a couple Facebook arguments. I will admit, I was guilty. I had a couple of Facebook
One
arguments.
of those guys, huh?
Yeah, no, not really. It was just like, I think the one time I had a Facebook argument we talked about in the podcast about, there was a person that it was during the OSU and I can't remember who they were playing, the football game where this kid got kicked out. It was like a championship game for like spearing somebody, and it was just, and I got in this whatever. But I've had a couple of those. But then you realize like, everybody, a lot of people care, unjustly so. Like there's no reason, like, but why am I getting myself wrapped up into this stuff?
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit?
Yeah, like it's only detriment to myself. So why am I getting wrapped up to this? So I found myself like, now I'm still kind of connected and I still kind of see those things because like, and I still will find myself turning the TV on a Saturday morning and watching the news, but I'm getting better at not getting wrapped up in it. But just because since I do this and we talk about whatever comes up, so I want to like kind of understand somewhat of what's going on. So I'll like kind of just be, abreast to what's going on, just so I understand that, hey, this is going on. But if I wasn't doing this podcast, man, give me a cabin in the woods, because like I enjoy being around people, and I enjoy doing things.
What's your shirt say?
Yeah, I know.
I hate people.
I hate people. I don't hate people anymore, but I used to. But it's kind of to your point where it's like, it's not doing me any good. It's not going to do anybody else any good that I get pissed off that other people are being ridiculous, regardless of what it is. So why? But I'm finding a happier place to understand and be not. I wouldn't even say knowledgeable, because that's too strong of a word. But I'm gonna use it. Knowledgeable about what's going on, just so I can informed. Yeah, informed to, in a slight sense of what's going on, so I can have conversations about it, and but I think, especially in politics, there's so many layers of all the things that are going on. I don't think anybody really understands truly what's going on. It's a wild, wild west out there. But I had a point I was going to make to that. Sometimes, whatever. It happens.
So it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I told you I'd ring it while you eat your food. I don't know. Are you
Dude, hold on. Before we end this thing.
I'm gonna finish this before we.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't know if I could, if we wanted to kind of semi wrap this up so he could end up finishing his food and get on the road when he needs to.
Even if we're wrapping it up, I got a short question that I want to ask.
Yeah.
So I think it was like podcast 6 or whatever. Corey asked this question to you and me and himself, and I consider Gary a pretty good friend, and I consider him pretty.
Yes.
I would say a wise individual, man. Like, we have some great conversations. And I think that wisdom comes through some of the stuff that we've lived and experienced or learned from other people before, we had to experience it. But the question that the business partner Corey asked, he said, if you knew that, like, you weren't going to be around tomorrow and you had to leave a piece of advice for your child, like, dude, what would you tell your daughter, man, if you knew that, you had a day, a week, a month, whatever, you weren't going to be around. You wanted to leave her with something, man, something lasting, something impressionable. And that's a big ass question. If you need to think about
question. Yeah, I can keep
but
ranting for a little bit if you want.
I feel like
I
like
knew-
you're the kind of guy that has a pretty damn good idea of what you would leave through, because I feel like this is probably something that maybe you've thought about, or or you already implement, that you tell her on a pretty regular basis to an extent.
Yeah, I knew right off the bat where you were going with that, and I got excited.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Like I said, we can come back to it if you want to think about it.
I can keep ranting.
We can start
Go
quoting
ahead,
some
rant
Chappelle.
a little bit longer. I'm pretty quote
You keep-
Chappelle, ran a little bit
You could
because I already know which
Gotta
direction
tell you
I want to
something,
go.
Joe Rogan. Oh man.
I will roll back to one thing I was talking about. This isn't really all that important, but maybe an additional topic, or not topic, but a thing to hit on before we took a pee break. And it kind of ties into everything. How we talked about, people being different with their, bodily systems and whatever, digestive systems. I wonder how much we change because, what is it? They say, I don't know how much science there is to this or whatever, but they say like what your cells essentially replace themselves every 6 years. So every 6 years, you essentially become a completely different entity. So like your body changes, people's bodies change, and they're, people's obviously it's harder to change people's ideas and thoughts and brains, but it can happen. But there's times where, going back to your client that, she didn't do all 3 feeds. Like there's times where I'll come home and for like 3 days straight, I just want just straight meat and vegetables, and I just want to eat it all. I don't want any carbs. Like I just want like all the vegetables in the world. And then the next, 2 days later, I'm like, that pizza sounds really nice. But like, and then when I eat it, I feel like shit. Like fast food, and that's a whole different story with all the things that they make fast food out of. That's not even food, but like, I wonder how much of that is just your body responding to different things, and I have no idea the science behind it or how it works or anything like that. But I think it's kind of fascinating that some people can thrive off of certain things, whilst other people can't. And we talked about like the lactose thing before, where how it's a weird, like, it seems to be, the argument can be made that geographically a lot of people are lactose intolerant versus other geographical places. And it's like, all right, well, is that evolution? Is that just how, like, so it's,
I think some things you can almost train your body to build an intolerance for, and other things just happen organically over time. So an example would be 1 year I competed. I dieted for probably 8 months out of the 12 months of the year, and I've drank milk my whole life with cereal, cups of milk, whatever it is.
was it Friday? You better put some water on that damn shit.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So,
Sorry.
random, but so I after that prep, I went back to drinking milk. And I'm talking immediately. As soon as I'm straight in the bathroom, like
Oh no.
clearing me out. And that lasted for, I don't know, months, where I was that sensitive to it. Now, if I drink it to this day, I'm still sensitive. I can tolerate it. I haven't drank it in large amounts, but I can do a bowl of cereal. I might get gassy or whatever, but I like milk, so I'm going to keep doing it. But I don't know what changed over time outside of me restricting myself from it for most of 1 year of my entire life, to the point now my body doesn't process it well anymore.
Do you think there's like a physiological change there that or that it was something like do you know much about celiac disease?
I don't know a great deal about it, but I don't think I have. Honestly, I just think it was an adaptation of some sort where, maybe I could retrain my body to if I drank milk on the regular, and, just the same way I trained my body not to accept it.
Right.
But I just think we change over time. I was talking about this a couple weeks ago too, but it sounds so dumb. But as a kid, you get on a swing set, roller coasters, whatever. Now all of a sudden, I get on a swing set and I get sick. A couple swings, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. What are you? I'm not afraid of the swing set. Like, it's not too fast, it's not too high, but my stomach can't handle it. I'm good for 3 rides at Cedar Point, and then I'm on the games the rest of the time, feeling sick while I'm playing these games. Where I was a kid, I could hit every roller coaster in the park and go home and feel just fine.
Right.
So, like, what changed? Like, is it mental? Is it the concept that, hey, if this roller coaster broke right now and we're at the top of this hill, this is death? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't quite get it. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you just roll with the punches, I guess. Or you even hear people say things like, you know, I never was a fan of this as a kid, and now I'm older and I eat it. Like, did your taste buds change all of a sudden? Like, what changed?
Tomatoes.
It actually, yeah, like what?
Hear it all the time with tomatoes.
I don't know. So,
I've only had one thing that's stuck with me forever. It's olives.
Olives.
I've always hated olives.
Yeah, it's so bad that if someone orders a pizza and they had olives on them and you pick them off, he's like, I won't eat it.
I won't.
I won't do it.
I won't even pick the olives off of a pizza.
He's
I'd
like,
be
you keep those demon vegetables away from
yeah, I
me.
don't need it. No, I'm good.
I've never eaten an olive in my life, and I don't plan on it. They don't look good.
He just doesn't. Yeah. Well, like
I think that's an umami taste right there. I feel like they're missing out.
They smell terrible. They smell.
man,
Green ones are
I
shit. The
just
black
love-
ones are fantastic.
I love Gary more and more. There's more time I spend.
Take your word for it. More for you.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have. Her pot like so. Little insight
Fantastic.
to the Wynn household here. She doesn't do it anymore. She used to like get a can of olives or whatever, open it up, and then like just throw them in the fridge. Not like put them in the container or anything. Just put the can in. I'd open the fridge, and that's literally the one thing I will not eat. I refuse to eat it. Will not, regardless.
Bro,
I can do olive oil a little bit.
A vampire with garlic with those olives.
Maybe, but I used to open the fridge and it'd be woof, like I'd smell it. I'd look in the fridge, I'd see the can, trash, boom.
She'd be like, "Where'd my
Yeah,
olives go?"
he's like, yeah, I fucking threw them away.
Right.
Put them in a goddamn container next time. Like that's the one thing I'm like, I ain't fucking with your olives. Like,
Right.
I'm not doing it, especially not making my fridge stink
Gotta
up.
tell you something, Joe Rogan. I don't fuck with olives.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't you fuck with my olive. Yeah, nothing. But maybe there is something to that.
You're
Every
such
6
a bitch.
when it comes to olives, yeah, don't you fuck with them.
Not happening.
You know better.
Somebody opens salsa. I got to leave the room.
You don't like salsa?
I'm a picky eater. You notice I didn't
As
put anything
a
on there.
picky eater as he eats plain white rice. And
Well, bro,
turkey.
there's picky eaters and then there's Gary. Like I've seen this man order a salad before, and he's like, I'm gonna need this off of it. I'm gonna need 1939 heirloom beans there. Oh, is that the Rasta version of the tomato? No. Don't want it then.
don't want
Don't
it.
want
This is what a salad looks like for me. Yeah, I ordered that with salad will come with. It has tomatoes, onions.
What was the temperature of the
croutons.
ocean when that sardine was caught?
I'm like, I just need cheese, cucumbers, and lettuce.
And don't let any of them touch. I'll combine
Throw
them.
some ranch on there. Oh, well, we don't have cucumbers. Okay, cheese and lettuce. Oh, we're just out of cheese. All right, I'll just take lettuce. That's fine with me. Like that's what my salads look like, and it's good. I don't need all the extras.
I just need like meat on my if I'm typically like if I have a salad, there's probably more chicken and bacon on it than anything else. Like I just,
Yeah,
that's why I think it's bullshit. They're like you have to have like breakfast food. Who decided that like eggs and bacon
dude, I
is
don't-
breakfast
I don't-
food?
I
like
eat
I'll have
steak,
I'll have a
old-
taco for breakfast.
Yeah,
if
I ate all
want to.
kinds of stuff.
Like
Bro, steak and bourbon for breakfast. I mean,
yeah.
come down on this elk penis.
shit.
Hey, how hard is your timeline? Because I don't want to make you late for any. Okay. I just didn't want to make you late for anything. Because I have all day.
I'd rather eat this here than try to drive and eat it.
Okay, yeah, because I don't hang out all day long. I don't even care. I feel like you probably eat beef jerky for breakfast every morning.
I do sometimes.
And lunch.
Yeah.
And dinner.
Yeah.
I did. That was my lunch today. At one point, I got a chicken breast out and threw it in the microwave and just stabbed it with a fork. And it's just
All day. Yeah.
that was it. Like it's, don't tell me what I have to eat for lunch and breakfast and dinners. I'll eat whatever I want.
I'm still thinking on your question.
I was trying to give you time.
I think I know. Well, I think I would say it's hard to say one thing.
I mean, you
So it's gonna
have
be
to kind
wrapped
of
into-
combine it,
yeah,
wrap.
it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah. Assimilate them together into.
I think I would tell her, number one, like, live your life to the fullest. And what I mean by that is do the things you want to do. You don't have to be surrounded by, you don't have to put yourself in a box based on what society deems to be normal. So society, I could rant on about this, but society deems marriage to be normal. Society deems men to like women, women to like men. Not saying that I want a daughter that's a lesbian or anything, but
But
that's
you
what
still
she
love her
chooses.
regardless, yeah.
Yeah. You know, society tells us we're supposed to go to college. Society tells us we're supposed, all these different things. But at the end of the day, you get one life to live. And regardless of what anybody else thinks, if that means you want to leave your family and move across the country because there's an opportunity there for you, like, go do those things. Because there's nothing worse than looking back and wishing you would have done this or you would have done that. Beyond that, it's kind of tails off, but work for everything you get. So you never want to look back and feel like you owe somebody or feel like you're indebted to them because they helped you do this or do that. There's going to be people that come along that do help you. We have all had help in some capacity or another, but at the end of the day, the only person you can truly depend on is yourself. I don't care if it's your best friend. I don't care if it's your mom. I don't care if it's your dad, whatever. The only person you can truly depend on is yourself. So at the end of the day, you have to put yourself, you have to be selfish to an extent. And I've grown up where I've looked out for everybody in my family. That, as bad as it sounds, it's probably one of my biggest regrets is I've spent so much time that, yeah, I've gotten to do stuff. I've gotten to travel. I've gotten to, I made time for these things, but how much more money would I have? Where else would I have gone in the world? Where would I be living right now if I hadn't taken my nephew in for 6 years when I was at the tail end of college? If I hadn't, moved my mom into my house, if I hadn't done, looked out for my sister during her hard times, so at the end of the day, a lot of people, put family first, and that's great. But again, there has to be a selfish aspect to it because a lot of those things have, in my mind, as bad as it sounds, I feel like set me back in some capacity because I was so worried about doing this or doing that for other people that, I feel like I'm still playing catch up, especially when you look at other people that are your age and you got a friend that's doing this or doing that or driving this or driving that. And you're like, or living here and you're living here in Ohio still. And you're like, well, that could have been me. Like, that's not that you envy them, but it's just what if? Like, what would I be doing if I lived in Vegas? What would I be doing if I lived in Arizona? I got friends that are over there doing these things. So at the end of the day, like I said, I think it, in a nutshell, everything just boils down to living life to the fullest and doing what she wants to do, what makes her happy, not what makes everybody else happy. Taking care of your family. My mom, my sister, my nephew's innocent in this case, but they all created their own issues and they need to figure out their issues. And I've invested so much time and lost so much money and things trying to fix their problems, but who's fixing my problems? Like, I'm not dependent on anybody to fix my problem. I have to fix my own problems, and I still have my own problems. So, it's kind of cliche, but live life to the fullest when it's all said and done, without going into crazy detail with that.
Well, taking your advice and being selfish, I appreciate and am super glad that your life has led you down where you are, that you're sitting in that chair right now. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Looking
Whatever
selfish,
path didn't.
whatever happened that puts you in this chair across from me, I'm super appreciative. And not trying to say you're wrong or anything like that, but I know at least for myself and other people that have told me that just hearing things that you've said, and and I guarantee all of your customers, all your clients, they appreciate that you are where you are. You know what I mean? So I think there's something to take out of that too. But I totally agree.
That makes sense, because we tend to look at, we're human. We tend to look at the negative in things and not the positive. So you saying that makes me look at the other side. Like, I'm all I can think about is what didn't happen, but there are a lot of good things that did happen. There's a lot of, although it sucks, I was able to help these people, my family members. I am, in all these bodybuilders' lives and so on, where people appreciate me for, I do work at Affinity, and there's people I may have made an impression on there as far as clientele goes and so on. So there definitely is a positive side to everything. But again, it's so easy to sit and reflect on what didn't happen or what could have been. So
Yeah, and it's hard too, because it's like you don't want to live your life wholeheartedly in either of those spectrums. You don't just to your point, like telling your daughter, you don't want someone to live their life in the silver linings spectrum, where you're always looking for silver linings on everything. Well, yeah, I didn't get to do this, I didn't get to do that, but this is a benefit. That's a really good perspective to have. To kind of playing the antithesis of myself. I don't know if did I use that word right?
The opposite of yourself.
Yeah, not playing the
Can you
opposite
spell that?
argument. What's that?
can you spell that for me?
Antithesis? ANTITHI. I don't know.
I think it's ESIS. And then you have to repeat it at the end. Antithesis. Can you use that in a sentence for me?
Oh, yeah, THESIS.
What is the origin?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I ain't gonna spell bee. But playing my own devil's advocate. I would agree. I don't want my kid to have to live in silver lining world. But aim for what you want to do and do what you want to do. But when you are where you are, I guess maybe it doesn't help to look back and be regretful or whatever about what you've gone through, but to be able to see the silver linings of where you're at and to use that and go, okay, maybe, you can look at where you're at and go, okay, I could have ended up here. I could have ended up in this place or that place. And maybe that is better than where I'm at. So now I'm going to direct myself to go there. I'm going to try to go and do the things I want to do. Or it's, you know what? Maybe I'm in a better place than I thought I could be. And I want to continue to help people.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because my thought pattern is along that way to an extent, but I'm so simple-minded in the sense that, I'll never forget, my aunt raised me a good portion of my life. And one thing she said that will stick with me forever was at my high school graduation, I'll never forget this. She said, Gary, I'm so proud of you. I said, why, Aunt Peg? And she goes, nobody even thought you'd make it this far. I was like, high school graduation. Like, kidding me? Like, at perfect attendance from day one of freshman year to the last day of high school. Like,
It's a lot better than me.
I had perfect attendance from first through sixth grade, and I missed a couple of days in middle school. Like,
So you were a geek.
I wasn't though. I just,
I'm just
that
fucking
that
with you.
was like the mindset that she instilled in me. Like, go to like
Gotta
so
show
these
up.
I did what I was supposed to do. So getting through high school, I was like, oh, it's not that tough at all. And then going to college and getting through college, like, it was expensive. That was the worst part about it. Studying sucked. But other than that, like, I did what I was supposed to do. So, to your point, I never, like I said, I'm simple-minded in the sense that tasks that might be hard based on someone's situation, where they came from. Like, you don't have to fall into these patterns. You don't have, if you grew up in a household where you saw your mom beat your dad every day, your dad beat your mom every day,
You might
or
see that
vice
too.
versa, or there were drugs or whatever, or, you grew up with nothing, that doesn't set you up. I'm not a big believer in you're a product in your environment. That doesn't set you up. It doesn't help you towards
Yeah,
success.
it might make it harder.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't mean that's what you have to do to be better. You just got to endure and be patient, and when you see that avenue, when you see that hole, you're the running back, and you see that hole, you got to attack and go and figure out how to make your situation better. And so, again, the things that have happened in my life, I did what I was supposed to do. As far as I'm concerned, I took care of my mom. I took care of my sister. I graduated high school. I graduated college. Whatever. I did those things, and I enjoy helping people. That's why I coach. But there's still things that I want to do for myself. A lot of these things are things I've did for other people, and as I get older, it's like, what about me though? And I'm making it sound like I'm the victim here. I've gotten to travel. I'm able to spend money on the things I'd like to do, all those different things. But, there's still something missing. There's still something missing. And maybe I can't pinpoint it right now. I know it's not marriage. I know it's, I got a kid. But I like excitement. I like doing things. I'm the black guy that does all the fucking the shit that no black people do. You can catch me skiing. I'll go jump out of a plane. I'll go do. My friends are like, dude, are you fucking serious? Like, yeah, I'm serious. Let's go camping. I went
you
camping.
swim?
Yeah, I can swim.
Yeah,
I'm
you
down.
can swim. Dude, I literally tell people, I'm like, Gary is the black me.
Yeah, let's
Oh.
do it. Like, the one thing I haven't done is
Gary.
yeah, unfortunately.
No.
Just fucking-
These Friday nights have been
Right,
good.
yeah,
So
right.
what's up, bro?
Like, the one thing I haven't done is like hunt. I'll go shoot something. I got shotguns.
taking
I've never
hunting.
I've
We're
never
taking
hunted
Yeah.
before.
This fall, we'll go down to the cabin.
Hey man, I'm down for all that stuff.
No, we're taking them on an elk hunt.
Ooh.
But to me, that's living. Like, people
Yeah.
don't get to do that kind of stuff every day. Some people grew up doing it, but others, don't get to do those things every day. So for me, that's freedom. That's a getaway. That's a story to tell. That's, I went to Iceland. That was so good. Like, everything looks like a postcard. Like, you're like, literally, this is a postcard. I show people pics and they're like, you took that with your phone? Yeah, that was my phone.
It was just
Yeah,
there.
It was crazy. It was a waterfall. People won't get to experience that. And I remember when I was in Iceland, I was thinking, man, this is cool. I was with like 4 of my buddies. This is cool. I'm with my guys, but this is like something you want to take your kid to, or your mom, or
Yeah.
your family, because my mom's never done anything, and she's getting older. She's 60. She's 65. But one of my goals this year is I'd like to take her on a cruise. Is something simple, but it'll be the craziest thing to her, like seeing that open water, and just seeing things she's never seen. I'd like to take my nephew. He's 15, he's never done anything like that. As much of a headache as it'd be taking my mom out on this boat, and it'd make me feel better as a son to to get to do those things. So, or for her to see those things. I remember, I'm going off on a tangent, but I remember we went down to one year for her birthday. I took her to, it's called a gospel brunch. She likes gospel music, and it was on East 4th at Pickwick, and so we went down there, watched these gospel people perform, whatever, and we come out, and like East 4th is, it's all lit up at nighttime, and the queue was there or whatever, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." She stopped, she's taking pics. I was like, "It's downtown Cleveland." Like, seriously?
East 4th.
But she hasn't been anywhere,
Yeah.
so that was cool to her, and I'm thinking like, what if I took you on a cruise, or what if I took you here? But she's just very stubborn. She's the type that like, it's too hot out. I'm not going outside the cabin. Like, I'm not taking you on a week-long cruise and you sit in this freaking 4x4 room. Like,
Right.
I'd be pissed. I'd have a blast out there by myself, but the only time she's leaving is to eat. I wasted a trip. So, it's just, I don't know. That's how my mind operates.
Well, I don't think it's I think there's a lot of times people look at when you're doing something for yourself that it's selfish and it's bad. Regardless. And it's like, well, sometimes you have to be a little selfish because regardless of how good of a support system you have and the family system you have and everything you have around you, like, you got to do some things that's for yourself. Whether going back to the conversation you were here with CJ, his wife didn't really enjoy the whole bodybuilding thing, but he said, what, like, he gives his wife and his family all the accolades for being what they are. But he even said, and it stuck with me that he's like, what, you still have to have something for yourself. You can't have your life depending on everybody around you. Like,
Right.
it's great to give back. Obviously I think that's probably one of the greatest things you can do is to give to other people. But if you have to give yourself something in life, and my wife and I, we've had the conversation many times where it's, like, we do a lot of things together, but there's things that it's important, I think, especially in that kind of relationship where it's, you gotta have some things on your own, because if your sole existence is depending on somebody else, you're not existing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta have something for yourself. So, like, I think this is just a personal reflection of you. I think it's a little selfishness is needed sometimes, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're doing all these good things for people. Then
Right.
you can't feel bad for wanting to do an occasional thing or two for yourself. You know what I mean? And being able to enjoy life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
It just, sometimes it beats you up mentally, I guess, because that's one thing to help people with bodybuilding. That's not a need.
Right.
That's a choice on both ends. But to help, a mother that has no place to live, or, a sister that's down on luck or whatever, or a nephew that only has you to depend on, like, those are the things that you have to do it. You have to, if you're not going to do it, who's going to do it?
Right.
But, then you look back and you're like, I'm glad I did it. But
Right.
how much money did I spend? I hate even thinking about that, but how much money did I spend? How much time did I lose, to help make this person happy? When, like I said, I have things where I can get away and do things, but there's, again, there's still just, there's things I would have liked to have done, and it is what it is. I try not to hold resentment, but it's hard. And I'm not the type that holds resentment like, hey, you owe me. But if I ask you for something, like, for the rest of your life, you should never have to complain to me about anything. Like, Hey, can you do this for me? You know I'm tired.
What?
Yeah, I was tired too when I moved all your stuff into this house when you had no place to live. Like, I was tired too, but I still did it. So like,
Yeah.
if I'm asking you to do this for me for an hour, I don't think that's too inconvenient. But call me crazy, you know. Just different things like that where you don't necessarily feel appreciated. Maybe that's what it boils down to, not feeling like you're appreciated for the things you've done.
But you keep on doing them. Though,
But you keep on doing them. Yeah.
yeah, and I think there's a fine line there between that making you a good person and making you susceptible to, you know,
Crazy.
getting taken advantage of. But you know, I think two things with that. You know, one with it's kind of old Jesus. You know, it's old Jesus Christ. You know, teach a man to fish, right? You know, so I think especially with the younger people, like, oh, he's finally finishing up and it's hitting him. You know, like, I think to me, like, I think that's the greatest gift you can give somebody is, you know what, to the 15-year-old nephew, because I have some nieces and nephews and things. It's like, a kid, you know, just giving you something isn't gonna, you know, but I'm gonna help you. I'm going to help you help yourself achieve something or help you, you know, learn something that you can serve yourself through this. I think that's the most important thing you can do.
Right.
Obviously, there's sometimes you just got to give it yourself, but man, I think it's really good. And just all I can think of is that, okay, get off the cross. We need the wood. Speaking of Jesus.
Oh man.
Well, Gary, man, I don't care, but you're way over your set date.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
You finished your food.
Yep.
Man, thank you. Whenever you want to come on, you let me know.
Listen, man, this is great. I enjoy being on. This is it's a getaway. This is literally like a getaway to me. This is like when I go. One of my, as dumb as this sounds, one of my biggest getaways is going to shows. Like, I go to a show, I sit up in a hotel room by myself. I got a TV there, my cell phone, and my computer, and I just silence. Like, it's fantastic. Then my clients will come in, they look good. I'm like, yeah, you look great. Cool, we're on track. I feel even better. I sit there, and then I end up staying up all night because we're there for a show. But those things this is like a getaway for me. Like, I don't mind driving down here. We just sit here and BS, and hopefully one of these days I don't have anything going on after, and
Yeah.
we can partake in other festivities. But,
I appreciate you coming down, brother.
Yeah.
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. Next time.